have a keynote coming up, and this is about the vision of digital euro. I would first like to invite on stage the member of Executive Board of the Deutsche Bundesbank. Ladies and gentlemen, could we have a round of applause as I invite Mr. Burkhard Balz onto the stage.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, I'm really delighted to be part of the 6th edition of this Global Fintech Fest, one of the largest fintech conferences in the world. The fest itself brings together fintech leaders from all over the globe. And to this day, 19 years ago, one of the most important steps in the history of the internet took place. Google acquired YouTube for only 1.65 billion USD. And as you know today, YouTube is the biggest video sharing platform worldwide, dominating the global market. And this is just one example of big techs, predominantly from the United States, dominating global digital markets. In sectors such as e-commerce and social media, where innovations and the strategic use of large data sets play a central role, companies like Google, Apple, Amazon are taking key roles. And this holds also true for digital retail payments in Europe, with Visa, MasterCard, PayPal having really large market shares. And as global uncertainty rises, not only India has been put into a tight spot. For Europe, but it reiterated the need to strengthen our strategic independence without any kind of hesitation. The digital euro, my topic today, represents a cornerstone of European digital sovereignty. So let me focus very briefly on European cross-border payments for a moment. At present, almost 2/3 of all card payments in the euro area are processed by non-European, predominantly US-based providers, such as, and I've already mentioned them, Visa and MasterCard. And almost 2/3 of all area economies lack a domestic payment solution. Only a little bit more than 1/3 possess their own independent and domestic solution, and one of them, Germany, with its Giro card. However, these payment solutions are typically limited to national usage and to specific applications. Cross-border payments within the euro area usually require the infrastructure of international providers. And furthermore, e-commerce payments are dominated by non-European providers as well. For instance, in Germany, PayPal is a major payment method used for online shopping with a market share of almost 30%. Additionally, new providers face difficulties entering the market as they must compete against established, mostly American competitors. Technological developments have further reinforced these dependencies. The popularity of these non-European systems is definitely understandable. They are convenient, they are reliable, and also usable across the borders. But yet, the payment systems are not just a technical matter, they are critical infrastructure. An impairment of these systems could result in severe financial and economic consequences. And moreover, non-European actors like the international card schemes decide, for example, on the scheme fees to be paid by European banks and private providers and gain valuable insights into economic and personal relationships, raising concerns about their own data sovereignty. So looking forward, recent developments suggest that stablecoins might further increase the reliance on non-European firms in the payment industry. The US administration supports the crypto markets and promotes the issuance of privately emitted means of payment, mostly pegged to the US dollar. These could rapidly expand their presence, particularly in cross-border payments and digital applications. However, widespread use of USD-denominated stablecoins may present significant threats to the euro area, or in other words, European sovereignty in payments would be at risk. Ladies and gentlemen, this dependency raises questions on Europe's digital sovereignty. Europe needs its own open and trustworthy infrastructure for payments, and the digital euro can become a strategic anchor in this regard. The challenges we face in Europe are mirrored worldwide. The G20 have made faster, cheaper, more transparent and more inclusive payments as a global priority. And India, for instance, has demonstrated the power of innovation in this area with its unified payments interface, better known as UPI. Other jurisdictions are similarly exploring digital currencies and new settlement arrangements, while also considering how their local payment systems and currencies, such as the Indian rupee here in the country, can play a stronger role in facilitating trade and financial flows. These developments underline that the debate about digital money and payments is not a European alone. It's a truly global endeavor. So, what is now the strategic response of the digital euro? Let me turn now to our own response, to our vision of a digital euro, while we boost autonomy, efficiency, and resilience of the European payments sector. First, the digital euro will improve the autonomy of the European payment system. Europe cannot afford to heavily rely on foreign providers for critical infrastructure like payments. The digital euro would operate entirely on European infrastructures, granting a degree of operational independence. And moreover, the digital euro will improve the autonomy of every single European citizen. This digital twin of cash shares many of its characteristics. Like cash, it would be state-guaranteed, always available, provide a higher degree of privacy than other digital payments methods, and would be usable all over Europe, whether in stores, online, shopping, or transferring money from friends to friends. The digital euro is designed to make payments simple, secure, and also data efficient. And additionally, offline payments would be possible to a limited extent, ensuring functionality even during internet or power outages. The digital euro translates into freedom of choice, which digital payment methods Europeans would like to use. Then, secondly, the digital euro would also establish a unified payment zone within the euro area. Uniform European standards would guarantee a strong and future-proof payment system while also simplifying cross-border transactions. Same standards, same scheme, same payment rails across Europe. And hence, the digital euro would enhance efficiency within our own currency zone, the euro area. In addition to that, the digital euro could also prospectively used abroad, although this is not our main objective in the very near future. And then thirdly, the digital euro would strengthen the resilience of euro area economies against competing currencies and stable coins by preserving the anchoring function of central bank money. Unlike other means of payments which are prone to liquidity and credit risks, the digital euro would provide a secure and reliable alternative. Stable coins, particularly those pegged to the US dollar and not regulated within Europe, are not a viable substitute from a European perspective. Ladies and gentlemen, this ambitious project will take some time. At the Bundesbank in Germany, we anticipate a gradual introduction no earlier than 2028, and this is also due to the legislative process for the introduction of a digital euro by the European co-legislators, which is still ongoing. So let me conclude this morning by highlighting a crucial insight from the non-digital world. As the American baseball player Hank Aaron, some of you might know him, said, and I quote him here, "In playing ball and in life, a person occasionally gets the opportunity to do something great. And when that time comes, only two things matter: being prepared to seize the moment, having the courage to take your best swing." Ladies and gentlemen, I'm confident that Europe has got the opportunity to do here something great, and I can assure you the Euro system, the ECB and the national central banks of the Eurozone are prepared to enhance the efficiency, the resilience and autonomy of European retail payments. And with the support of courageous legislators, I'm confident that Europe will take its best swing. So thank you very much for your attention. It's great to be back here in India, and this is really a great event. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Balz. And yes, we are now going to be joined by Mr. Yashraj Erande back in the stage again, because it's now time for the conversation, a fireside chat, once again on the very same topics. I'm happy to have both of you on the stage, and let's take the conversation forward.
Thank you so much.
Is this working? Okay, perfect. Mr. Balz, this was a very informative and a fascinating presentation. Thank you so much for taking the time and taking us through the details. One of the things that really caught my attention was that you are a very strong proponent of digital currencies, of course, and CBDC. And it is a topic which is getting discussed in multiple countries. And some are unsure, some are sure. What would be your thought process and recommendations about adopting CBDC for those that are not yet convinced?
Well, thank you so much, Yara, for the excellent question. Well, CBDC is definitely now a global topic. And I attended yesterday the presentation from the colleagues of the RBI when the governor, of course, figured out what they are doing here in this great country. And I could answer your question like that: in an increasingly digital world, and we can all feel that day by day, obviously. People, of course, expect the right means of payment. It's not only here in India the case, it's also in Germany the case or in other parts around the globe. And they expect a means of payment that works seamlessly in all situations, whether online or in shops or directly between individuals with P2P. So a digital euro, our solution for the CBDC, works like that. And this should be an European payment means that is universally accepted across then our currency zone. And then, at the same time, Europe faced definitely a lot of challenges. We see the cash usage in our countries in Europe is declining. Well, in Germany, we are coming from a relatively high level. It's traditionally a cash, of course, a cash use country. But when we see that, we really, as I figured out in my presentation, we are really dependent on outer European or non-European, of course, then companies. And in times of geopolitical uncertainty, it's of course good to have its own rates, its own schemes to get there absolutely independent again. So the digital euro would address both, as I said, a digital twin for cash, so that people have also then in the digital age access to central bank money, and then of course a digital euro would be more resilient because it stands on own European rails. And then I've also very briefly mentioned the offline functionality. So you got also then a solution which is more or less independent from power shortages, or then if the internet doesn't work. In Europe, and especially in my home country, in Germany, I can also tell you that privacy is a key priority. The digital euro would also uphold Europe's high standards of privacy and also data protection. That is also personally for me a very important topic, as I have served also 2 terms in the European Parliament where privacy, data protection, I can really tell you is a key topic. And then, Yashraj, most importantly, I would say the digital euro would establish the real common European payment scheme. So it could be used with all the common methods, from contactless to QR codes to direct P2P transfers, and it would seamlessly work across the borders, which is, of course, when you only look towards the European Union with 27 member states, a great advantage. And this would definitely make payments even more efficient, would strengthen the own European autonomy and provide a genuine European alternative to today's dominant private non-European systems.
Understood. I think it's quite compelling. The key points you're making about in a digital world, having a digital twin is critical. It is also available offline when there is no power shortage, where there is a power shortage or connectivity issues.
Well, we have just recently seen a big example of that in Europe, when in Spain, Portugal, and some parts in southern France, we have had a power shortage for almost 3 or 4 days. And then, of course, the people had real problems to get their payments done. Well, of course, cash was still accepted, but you need the cash. Of course, then it's important that cash is still accessible, because when everybody wants to get some cash out of ATMs or banking branches, then of course it's a big challenge. But we have really seen that earlier this year in Europe.
Okay, amazing. I didn't know that. I think that's a proof of the fact that you can use it even when there are power shortages and offline. So this is very fascinating. Mr. Balz, if I can also touch upon one important point you made, that while Germany is is one of the countries in Europe, but there is a lot of trade that happens cross borders. And in general, across the world, the cross-border trade is a key topic of discussion now.
Yeah.
How do you think about the future of the euro system and its potential in the context of cross-border trade?
Well, of course, as you could imagine, in Europe we are very open, and we are also relying to trade, cross-border trade. And then, from our side, the euro system, so the national central banks within the eurozone, the ECB, and the 20 national central banks over there, we are very much committed, of course, to cross-border payments. It's not only the G20 roadmap we do see, but also from a European perspective, we are really truly committed to that. We are working hard on that, and from my point of view, central banks, we influence payments and especially cross-border payments in three different ways: as catalysts, as operators of payment systems, obviously, and then also as overseers. So there's a threefold dimension. Let me start very briefly with the catalyst function. As catalyst, the euro system, European central banks, countries that are also part of the G20 have been actively involved in shaping the roadmap. I can only rely in that respect to the Bundesbank, but I can tell you, as a G20 member state, Germany is also heavily relying on that. And then we have incorporated then the different elements of the G20 roadmap into our own payment strategy, and we are also working in close cooperation with market participants in order to assist them in implementing the different building blocks of this roadmap. So this was the catalyst function. Then, as operators of payment systems, we have looked at potential for improvement in our own system and started also then adjusting in order to fulfill the expectation from the roadmap. This includes longer operating hours, obviously, improved access, as well as the efforts to interlink our fast payment systems with our country's systems. And then finally, as overseers, we are involved in the discussions on how to harmonize our regulatory and supervisory frameworks across borders. And this could improve speed, for example, and also to reduce cost for cross-border payments. However, there's only so much we can do as central banks. Most of the work, I have to admit, in this regard has to be done by the finance ministry. So we are quite active, but at the end, of course, politics are sitting here in the driver's seat. So to conclude, in the future, we will continue to improve our own products, including interlinking the different fast payment systems. In Europe, it's our fast payment platform TIPS, as you know, with countries, especially with such a great country like India. And then on top, we will keep acting as catalysts in other relies. We want to strengthen further desirable developments in the overall global payment landscape.
Well, Mr. Balz, thank you so much. I think the pioneering work that you're doing on digital euro and the implications for many of the other countries who are trying to learn from the experience is fascinating, and we really appreciate you sharing it so openly and candidly with the rest of us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
The organizers are telling me that we are out of time, but this was a really interesting discussion.
Thank you for the kind invitation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much to the dignitaries on the dais. May I request you to come together for a photograph, please?